So we're going to jump into our second panel. This panel is going to highlight a few producers and processors who are working to diversify their market through partnering with institutional buyers such as hospitals and senior living facilities. We have Shay Farmer here, and she will be discussing the Mission Mountain Food Enterprise Center, which is a federally inspected food processing facility, and the strategic planning involved with food service directors, growers, and distributors to increase the amount of, see if I can get this on, minimally processed, season extended, regional food served in public institutions. And we have Dave Prather, the General Manager of the Western Montana Growers Cooperative, and he will be illustrating the partnerships the Growers Cooperative has working on the wholesale level with food service departments of 3 hospitals in Montana, as well as their work with the Human Service Departments of St. Pat's, St. Luke's, and St. Joe's to provide a CSA, or Community Supported Agriculture, shares to employees. And then Jenny Scott from Montana Highland Lamb will be talking about their partnership with the Hillcrest Senior Living at Bozeman. So again, there'll be some questions, probably, or time for questions, not as much as we would like, and then we'll break for lunch. So I think Dave's going to get us started.
So my name's Dave. I'm with Western Montana Growers Cooperative. I'm the general manager there. I've been with the organization a little over 7 years now. I unfortunately didn't get set up to bring photos with me, but we can always share those around with folks later on. I'm just going to give a brief overview of what we do as a cooperative and a little bit of the specifics of how we work with healthcare providers around the state. Probably pretty brief, and certainly we want to try to leave as much time as we can for questions. So Western Montana Growers Cooperative is a farmer-owned marketing and distribution co-op. We've been in business for over 12 years now. We currently work with about 43 member farms. We work with another 5 or 6 producers around the state that aren't necessarily members of our cooperative, but we work with them nonetheless. From our producers, we are able to offer our customers what we call a full plate of products. That means fresh fruits and vegetables, milk, cheese, eggs, grains, lentils, pulse crops. We do a variety of meats. We do value-added products. We also do processed fruits and vegetables, which you'll hear more about from Shay in a minute. And we're able to, we had to go that route really to diversify our product line, just because of being in Montana and being a hyper-local company. You're limited as to what you can grow and produce within the state, so we just tried to broaden our perspective that way. Customer-wise, we sell really to anybody who wants to buy anything, so it breaks down on a wholesale level to grocery stores, which would include your large chain stores as well as smaller health food stores, your independent grocers. We do quite a lot of restaurants. We do a number of institutions, which include folks like the University of Montana, also some of our hospitals that we'll talk about in a minute, as well as public schools. We also sell to buying clubs and other groups like that, and then we also operate a multi-farm CSA program directly to individuals and families. We have a distribution network comprised partly of our own fleet. We have 3 small trucks that we operate ourselves, mostly up and down the Highway 93 corridor in the western part of the state. And then we have partnerships with several other companies, including Charlie's Produce out of Spokane, Washington, Market Day Foods in Bozeman, Montana Fish Company, and a few other folks we've worked with over the years to help expand our reach, as it were. Hospitals, we work with on 2 levels, as Katie mentioned a minute ago. On the wholesale level, we just work with the food service departments. Right now we work with about 3 different hospitals and a couple other skilled nursing facilities. That really began by going to events like this, trade shows. There's quite a few groups within the state that put together things like that, so just through the conversations we've had, we're able to get going there. We had enough experience at the wholesale level working with our producers and feeling confident about their abilities to produce items that the customers needed. We were able to slowly get into the door there. Set up as a godsend on folks like that who really have a passion for local food. One of the things we've found, especially with the institutional marketplace, is you really have to have those certain individuals that are in the right places that want to make it happen, because it's going to be a little bit more work. No matter how good we get at our jobs, it would still be easier if we get everything from Cisco and call it a day. We have to take those things that Cisco does well and emulate them to a certain extent, just to make it convenient for our customers, but we need to take it down to a local level, working with our smaller producers. Some of them are very small, and we have to work with them to develop their products and be able to get it to our customers at a reasonable time and a reasonable price. The other thing we've done, which is pretty neat, it's a fairly new thing for us. 3 years ago, we began a pilot project with St. Patrick's Hospital in Missoula for them to provide CSA shares to their employees. It was kind of brought up in a meeting that they were looking at something like that, and they didn't know that we even had a CSA option. And we did a pilot project, and they allowed 25 employees to sign up for shares, and it's grown quite a bit from there. By working with HR departments, they're able to do payroll deduct within their system, so their employees can pay for it across the whole year, so it's not so much out of pocket. They also do, through employee wellness programs, they're able to do some raffles and other programs where they can do some cost sharing there, so they're actually not paying full sticker price for the food that they're getting. We've taken that program and actually moved it to other businesses, as well as some local city government local governments, and I think there's a lot of potential there. It's something that we're still exploring, figuring out a way to make it work for everyone. But briefly, challenges. Most of this has been touched on already. Insurance. I was a little bit surprised with Jesse about not necessarily meaning the insurance offhand there, but most of your healthcare institutions, most institutions in general, are going to require a fair amount of liability insurance. We've always had to carry it in some form or fashion, but once we started to work with Thomas Cuisine and other folks, we had to bump up our coverage. And you have to look at it as cost benefit. How much do you expect to sell there? And for our purposes, it's certainly worth a while. But if you're a small independent producer, it's something you have to take a look at. Hospitals, of course, have limited food budgets. That's again been talked about, but they're able to leverage that, as Seth was talking about, into a marketing potential for their company or their hospital organization. Food safety is another one that's been talked about a little bit. That's been more until now kind of customer to customer, really, or different corporations have their own rules that they have to follow. But with Food Safety and Modernization Act, that's going to be changing. Our group, we're currently working on a group food safety project, a group gap program, to get all of our growers up to speed on all the new rules and regulations, and just to try to get a little bit ahead of the curve there. Success-wise, it's a huge market. I think just in the skilled nursing facilities, they're going to set something 20,000 meals a day. It's really substantial. And if we're able to keep one of those dollars in Montana to Montana producers, it really will go a long ways for all of us. I think I'll leave it at that for now. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Shay Farmer, and I work at the Mission Mountain Food Enterprise Center, which is a Lake County Community Development Corporation, which is a lot of acronyms. This is my first time over this way and meeting a lot of you, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. Let me just tell you a little bit about us for those of you that aren't familiar with us. I love reading this, it's always a mouthful. Our mission to enhance regional and state economic opportunities by providing client services for value-added agriculture and specialty food businesses through reliable communities food processing facilities. And what I say, in other words, is along with our major partner, the Western Montana Growers Cooperative, we're a food hub pretty much. We store food, we process food, we work with food entrepreneurs to create products. We help them market it, we have barcodes. And I guess I wanted to ask this lady over here, did you mention something about a food shed? What's the difference between a food shed and a food hub? There's a lot of words flying around.
I imagine you probably know better than I would, but I just meant in terms of it being like a central place where food from various different farms in the state are kind of processed through like with delivery services and stuff like that to institutions, to schools, just to guarantee that for the amount that they need for the next upcoming year, they can actually get. So I know that's a big problem for larger institutions or even the local too. So I'm not sure exactly how to define it. I know I come from California, and so we have like an actual defined food shed.
Yeah, I'd say between the two of us, you can say that we're in the process of becoming a food shed, or we are in different ways. I don't know. It's pretty complex, I'd say. But let's see. I just was curious because I heard you talk about it just real briefly in the back. And so basically at our organization, we do a lot of things. We help with producer services, operational services, community services. And this is one of my favorite graphics right here because it's so cluttered and crazy, but it's kind of the world we live in on our end. What do you think of that one, Dave? Does that explain it well?
No.
We also work a lot with nonprofits, policy councils, educators, and food corps members. We help a lot with local food, education, and procurement into institutions. We have a couple programs that we work on, a Choose Local campaign that we've come up with to kind of help educate consumers about, why they should buy why they should purchase local food. And then we also have a Fresh Snap program, which is a SNAP incentive program for farmers markets. So these are some of the programs that we've developed in conjunction with all the work that we do. So I'd just like to share that. We also like to use the Choose Local as a bit of a marketing piece. We're set over there. So our major partners and what we do with institutions right now is we do a lot of work with the schools. And we do that with a lot of help from the Western Montana Growers Cooperative. It's mostly their product, they distribute it. We kind of help with planning a bit. So the next move for us, we just received a grant and we're looking to work with 3 area hospitals to develop some value-added products or season extension, minimally processed products. So you can purchase them in the winter. And how we kind of went about that was we reached out to this organization called Healthier Hospitals Initiative, and they're a national organization that work with hospitals to basically make them more sustainable. I'm not sure if that's one of the organizations you mentioned. There's a couple out there. This one has, they have 6 challenges that they have. They have engaged leadership, cleaner energy, less waste, safer chemicals, smarter purchasing, and healthier food, which is what we will be helping with. And basically, we approached this organization, and after some research, they mentioned that they had some hospitals in Montana that had signed on to this. So we wanted to know who the contracts were for that, how we could get talking with them to see what kind of products that they would like to see. And so we used that kind of as a jumping So our goal of our Farm to Hospital project, it's new for us, is to work with 3 hospitals. One is St. Luke's, who's literally a block away from us. They don't really serve any local food, do they, Dave?
Not much.
Right. And so we kind of came in at a good time. We used the HHI pledge as kind of a jumping off point because they actually hadn't signed on to the pledge. And so we kind of used that as a discussion point to open up with them. It's kind of a great time to start working with them because their food service director, who had been there for over 20 years, had just left. And so it was this opening of a new person that was there, and it happens to be the person that's taking over is also a dietitian. So she's really excited about working with also she has an intern that she works with, and we're really going to start planning out what are the products that they want to see what are the products that they want year-round? Because that's the key. Not every hospital has a fancy chef, that does everything hand-cut. I wish everyone did. It's great. Some people just want to get local food in there and have it already ready for them. I know I'm going fast, but I figured you'd have a question. A little bit about our facility. We have, as I mentioned before, a lot of storage space, laboratory and warehouse. We do a lot of product development there, just testing items out. Basically what we want to hear from hospitals and institutions are, what do you want? What do you want to see? What are some products? For the grant we're working on, we said we work on 3 to 5 products. And so we'd really like to hear from folks what they'd like to see. This is where we process from the farm to school. We're also a cooperative development center, food science education, and we have lots of services to businesses. And here's some of the products that, along with the co-op, we process. Those are some beautiful beets from last month. And these are products that we specifically sell. It's the Montana Lentil Burger. It's really great. You should try it. We're also working on a gluten-free option because that's huge right now, and a lot of folks need that. We also developed a Montana beef lentil crumble specifically for schools. They're all really interested in getting Montana beef in there, but sometimes the price is a little high. And so by adding the lentils in there, Montana lentils, lowers the price point for them, enabling them to be able to purchase it. And on the hospital side, I'd say nutritionally, it's actual good stuff. So I'm just going to end on, let's collaborate. Do you have an idea? Email me. Tell me what you want to see. We'll work together and we'll see what we can come up with to see if it's in your price range.
Well, I'm Jenny, as you can see on your program, and my husband and I have a sheep operation. I call it an operation because it's pretty minuscule. I feel kind of like we're the primitive forerunners of a lot of things that have been discussed here today. But we have 200 ewes. We're south of Whitehall. We have 400 lambs a year, and what we do our retail business with is probably 150 of those. We have Polypay, which is a white face, and Hampshires, which are the blocky black face, not the skinny nose stuff. Anyway, so most of our lambs are crossbreds that we sell. We do pasture. They're out with their mothers frolicking around in the green grass until the Montana weather puts an end to growing things. Then they're fed alfalfa hay and a little bit of local barley. We feel that is a thing that adds flavor to our meat. We are natural. We're not certified organic, but we don't do any hormones or antibiotics unless someone is sick. And then even according to the organic certification regulations, you can treat those animals. You're supposed to. That's kind of your responsibility of being a good husband to your critters. And Dave was the 4-H livestock judging coach in our county for a dozen years, so he kind of knows how to tell if an animal is finished from the outside. We run our critters through the chute, and he palpates their backbone and their loin area to determine. We shoot for about 1/4 of an inch of back fat. So it's not just like, we'll take 10 lambs to the processing plant today. We try to make sure they're in good shape. And then he goes the next day and checks those animals when they're on the rail to get even a better correlation between what's on the outside and what's on the inside. About 2009, we decided we would leap into the retail market and see if it made our operation a bit more sustainable. And me being just a sheep ranch wife with an animal science degree, I avoided all those business classes that I could. I had no clue about marketing and sales. And since he works full-time for NCAT, it had to be my job. So I set out with my little piece of paper with the facts of our ranch and a sample, and just started beating the streets. I probably went to close to 100 establishments, restaurants, schools, health institutions, and one of them was Hillcrest Senior Living in Bozeman. So I gave them my spiel and left my little lamb chop and called back in a couple weeks and asked them if the prices were in the ballpark and if the product was acceptable. Oh yes, it was fine, but we aren't interested. So that was kind of a letdown, but you learn after a while that you just keep pressing on. A couple of years later, I checked with them again, and that time it was a fit. And we've really enjoyed a good relationship with those culinary people there. In view of Seth's discussion, it's microscopic peanuts, not even small, because we only sell a couple, we sell between 400 and 500 pounds of meat to them a year. It's mostly legs, boneless shoulder roasts, shoulder steaks, and racks. And I just call them a couple times a month, and it's not like, oh, it's that woman again. They're thankful for the call, and they usually place their order, and then we get it to them, and it works out well. They're very dependable accounts, so that's nice for us. As far as the profitability on our end of things, when the commodity lamb price is low, then it's a good deal. We make some money. When the quantity lamb price is high, it's not such a good deal. A couple years, I guess it was just last year, the lamb prices were wonderful. All the sheep people were really happy. So our banker says, you're doing well on your meat business, but I think in view of your loan and your debt situation, you better load those lambs up and get them to Billings. So that's what we did. Well, then we figured, did our homework and took these new prices that would have made the difference to our customers, and they said we just can't bear that much of an increase. So we told them our song and dance about the banker, and they said, well, we understand, come back next year, which we thought was really nice of them. Apparently our product was something that they did want to have when it was available. So that's what we did. And you have to kind of decide you're going to be in it for the long haul and that you're interested in producing a good product, because some years are going to be raunchy and some years are going to be better with the retail business. We found the things that we have learned kind of is that mainly be happy. When you go to these folks, go with a smile on your face and enthusiasm about your product, because that's pretty cheap, and that's somebody they're going to want to deal with. And then also you've got to be dependable, because as we've heard, they make up their menus and their banquet plans and all these things a long way ahead, and you can't just leave them high and dry. If your lane's drifted in, you need to communicate and say, hey, I cannot make it to town. Here's plan B. So usually they're pretty understanding about that. And the other thing, if we're trying to push a good local product that's going to cost more to our customers, it has to be way better than something that's raised 2,000 miles or across the pond. We can't expect them to want our product unless it's considerably better. Feedback we've got on our meat is that it's really tender and has a nice mild flavor, and we kind of attribute this to our humane handling of our critters and their diet and also genetics. And then another thing that's really important is your processor. We go to ranch land in Butte that was mentioned, and they're a federally inspected facility. It's a clean environment. The cutters and the wrappers are really good. They showcase your product, because if you have a mess, then you're out of it, because people are not going to want your stuff if it doesn't keep well and if it's not presented attractively. Lamb is a really good meat. It's full of CLAs and omega-3s, the buzzwords of these days, nutrition. And we have a friend in Bozeman that's a naturopath, and she says it's a warming food. It's very comforting to our bodies, and it's very digestible to the elderly and the sickly, and to all of us actually. Our slogan is that we raise homegrown and happy sheep, and we enjoy our life with the sheep, and we really strive to produce a good product for folks. So that's my spiel. Thank you.